Hello everyone and welcome back to PhD and Productivity. So if you are new here, my name is Kira and on this channel we talk about all things about doing a PhD and staying productive during that time. But a lot of what I talk about is going to be relevant for anyone who's a student or working in any sort of knowledge-based field. So even if you are not a PhD student, I hope that you'll be able to find something useful on this channel and in this video. So today we're going to be talking about some tips for working from home. At this time, a lot of people who are able to work from home are being asked to work from home. For some people, this is going to be completely new, so I hope that a lot of these tips will be helpful for you. Or if it's not something that's new to you, I hope these will still be helpful for you, because I think you can always stand to learn something new about being productive at home. Even if it's something you're very familiar with, there will always be something that you can pick up on, or maybe something that you could improve on. So hopefully you guys enjoy this video, and if you do, be sure to give it a thumbs up because it really helps me out. And just to mention a little bit about the upcoming videos on this channel, so I'm using this time where I'll be working from home more so as a way to take more time for the YouTube channel, because I'm no longer commuting to and from my university, so I can use that time in a way to produce more content for you guys. So I hope to be putting out a video every day for the next week, and possibly even longer than that, to help people during this time if you're new to working from home or looking to be more productive, or just finding different ways to spend your time when you're working at home and stay in that same productive mindset, even though it can be a bit of a change. So if you want to see those upcoming videos, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know that when they are uploaded. So some of the videos coming up will be, good ways that you can spend this time and make the most of this time, even though it is a scary time and lots of people don't obviously want to be stuck at home. There's still lots of ways that you can use this time to your advantage, and different ways that you can sort of still live a normal life. And I'll be sharing with you guys my full day of working from home so that you can see what my routine looks like and hopefully implement some of those things for yourself. There will also be some upcoming videos about how best to spend your time outside of work, even to do with breaks or after work, or on days off and stuff like that. I recently read this book called Rest, and it's all about why you get more done when you work less, and how to really utilize your time to the best of your advantage, and rather than spending all day slaving away and then coming home and just vegging out completely, how you can actually make the most of your rest time and actually increase your productivity through sort of restful activities. So the first tip that I have for you guys is to stick to a schedule, and that's really important because it can be easy to see working from home as this ideal lifestyle where you can sleep into whatever time of day and then work whenever. If you don't want to work during the day, you can work in the evening and stuff like that. But it's not necessarily the best thing to be putting all your work till the end of the day and then not being able to really enjoy the day because you haven't gotten your work done. And it can also just disrupt your daily routine, and it's not necessarily the best thing to be doing. So it's better to stick to a routine that works for you and try and do something somewhat similar every day. So actually recently I found out that it doesn't suit everyone to do the same kind of schedule every day. So women follow both the circadian rhythm and the infradian rhythm, which is the 28-day cycle, and you will be suited to different tasks at different stages, which is really interesting. So there are better ways to use different times of the cycle, and it's something that I watched in this video that I'll have linked down below for you guys. So if you want to learn more about that and how that can affect your routine, I highly recommend that video. It's very, very informative, but basically still sticking to some sort of schedule, not necessarily the same thing every day, but a general idea of how much work you're going to do, how long you're going to work for, when you're going to take breaks, different things like that. And along with that, there goes to setting a morning routine for yourself. During this time, it would be definitely a great opportunity for you to find a morning routine that works for you and getting that into your habit every day so that your body becomes primed to work, because you are doing the same things to sort of get yourself ready for work each day, and your body will start to understand that those series of actions are what leads to do work. Now obviously during this time, if you have kids, it might not necessarily be that you want to spend a longer time on your morning routine. You might want to get up before everybody else and just get to work straight away and give yourself a couple of hours of work before everything starts off with the kids and getting everything together, because I know that at this time a lot of schools are closed, which means there's a lot more time at home and working on school related activities and homeschooling and stuff like that. So it might be better for you to skip out on a morning routine in a sense and just get straight into your work, because you might not necessarily have the opportunity later in the day to work on things. So that might be the best for you. For somebody else, it might be important to get in some self-reflection time or some, meditation or prayer if that's something that works for you. Or it might be time to do some exercise, which is very important for anyone. Even if you're not doing a PhD, it's important for everyone to get exercise in. So making that time in the morning can be quite a nice way to start off your day as well. So the third tip would be to set aside an area of your home or your apartment as your work area. So obviously it would be ideal if you have a separate room for your work. That's not your bedroom, not the living room, not the kitchen, that you just have to focus on your work so that you can really isolate the tasks that you do for work in a specific area and you can really associate that space with your work. However, I understand that that's not possible for everybody who is currently working from home. Perhaps you live in an apartment and don't have a lot of space, but it's important to still make sure that when you're doing work, you're doing that in a different space to normal, because otherwise you will start to do your normal activities like watching TV and doing all these different things without actually focusing on your work. So even if you just have a small apartment and you use every part of your space, you could even just move, let's say, your dining room table slightly and change the chair so that you're facing something different than usual and it can feel like a different space. And setting up the workspace like that will be ideal for you to be able to disconnect your home life from your work life. The next tip that I have for you is to get ready for work. So obviously that depends on yourself. Like, I'm not somebody who likes to put a lot of preparation into myself before I go into the university labs, but I can understand for other people who have more of a getting ready for work routine and they have a series of steps that they do every day, it can feel more like they're in the office and in the working environment if they completely get ready for work, which means putting on a working outfit and some makeup, even putting shoes on and everything, even if you're not planning on leaving the house. And this tip kind of extends because not only should you get ready for work in your physical appearance, you should also do it the same way that you would get ready for work on a normal day. So if you usually have your lunch prepared, have it prepared for yourself at home because it's just easier and it won't interrupt your day as much. And similarly, when you're setting up your office or your desk or whatever at home, make sure that you have everything at your desk every morning that you actually need to work, so that you're not constantly getting up because you need this or that. You actually have everything ready to go. Act like that space is your work, and if you didn't have everything set up, you'd have to go all the way home to get everything else. So imagine that it's the same way as that, because that will really help your productivity, because getting up and down all the time will obviously break things up, because then once you're up you'll think actually it'd be a nice time to make a cup of tea or get a snack or this or that, and it's better to just have everything ready to go so that once you start working there isn't that kind of disruption and distraction of not having things where you need them to be. The next tip is to sort of stick to business as usual. So try to keep, while you're working, the same rules in place as you would use in your work office. So if you wouldn't usually watch Netflix in the background at work, probably not the best idea to do it at home either, because it is distracting, and while it has been shown that a bit of background noise can help your productivity and help your creativity, it's generally not the best idea to have, something new and exciting on the TV when you're trying to do your work. Like for me specifically, to have something that I've seen a ton of times on in the background really won't affect me much at all. So I don't really mind doing that, but it's probably better to just put on some music if you want to have some background noise or something like that, rather than having something that will distract you or could distract you during the workday. So trying to keep those normal business things up to scratch. And similarly, like, just because you can be on your phone all the time doesn't mean that you should. So I still try to stay away from my phone during the working hours when I'm at home, because it's only going to distract you and cause you just to be less productive overall. Keeping away from my phone and also just any unnecessary browsing on the internet all is out of the question when I'm working from home, because it should be, trying to stick to the similar productivity tips that you'd usually use in work, because they're going to work the same way at home as long as you can actually stick to those things. Obviously, in terms of distractions, it can be harder when you've got other people at home, so trying to put up conversation with the people around you that you are going to be working from X to Y, so that once you're on a break or on a lunchtime or after work, you'll be able to stop and chat and everything like that. But during your working hours, if you have to work in an open space, to make other people aware that you are working and you're not around for a chat all the time. That's kind of a good thing to do as well, to kind of keep the business as usual. You wouldn't expect in work for your co-workers to constantly be coming up to you and chatting to you, and whoever is your supervisor or your boss not to notice and be questioning why you aren't working during the hours. So the next thing is to take breaks. Now, just because you're at home all day doesn't mean that you shouldn't be taking breaks the same way that you would at work. As PhD students, you generally have a lot of control over your breaks, but if you are working in an office environment, you might be usually having a couple of 15-minute breaks and maybe a longer lunch hour. And sticking to those kind of breaks at home is very beneficial because you do get worn out if you're doing the same thing for a number of hours, and it's important to actually stick to specific break times rather than leaving them open-ended, because then you might really not be able to return to your work in the same way. Putting together a schedule for yourself, as I mentioned earlier, one that works for you and that will allow you to be as productive as possible is very important. But just to be aware that you should be taking breaks and taking breaks for a set time period, and that can be as long as you like. A couple things that you can do on those breaks to make them even more beneficial. One thing would be to get outside. Now, obviously at this time, not everybody is able to go outside, so depending on what rules are in place, if you can get out for a walk with the dog, then that's great. If not, if you have a treadmill at home, then you could use that for a walk, or you could even get a resistance band or like a tie and wrap that around yourself and onto something solid, so even like this frame here, and walk on the spot like that, and the resistance will be able to keep you walking on the spot as if you were on a treadmill. So getting a walk in during the day is very beneficial for your creativity and your productivity. So I highly recommend doing that even if you can't go outside at this time. And as well, it's good to try and get in some fresh air, so even if you do have to be at home, to open up the windows and get in that fresh air during the day is very important, because it's not great to be sitting at home in a stuffy apartment for a number of weeks potentially. So getting in that air and getting in that fresh air is very important. As well, another thing that's good to do on these breaks is to actually socialize with co-workers or family members or whoever you please, but to not be completely isolated during this time, because it becomes very lonely, and then that will be very difficult for you to stay motivated to do your work for the next couple of weeks. So arranging maybe Skype calls or something like that with people that you would like to talk to on these breaks is very important, and it's highly recommended by both universities and workplaces alike that you would take some time during the day to socialize and not allow yourself to be completely isolated during this time. And the last tip that I have for you guys is to stop once you've finished your work. So whatever time you said that is going to be the time that you're going to be working, do stop afterwards. Don't let yourself work for an entire day. It can become very tempting because you start to blur the lines between home and work, and you start to just think that you can work at all hours, and it's really unhealthy. And the best thing to do is, once you've done whatever number of hours you're supposed to just stop and not return to it, and allow yourself the time to recover from your work, because while it's good for your mental health just to be able to disconnect from work, it's also good for your work. So your subconscious mind starts kicking in once you've had some time away from a task, and it will start to try and solve the problem in the back of your mind, so that when you return to work, you will have a better idea of how to solve whatever problem you've been working on. So it is good to stop your work at a certain time, and actually one thing that's been shown is that it's good to stop your work at a point where you can keep going. Actually, when you're in the middle of something and you know where you're going next, to stop your work then and leave it for the next day, because then you actually have a place to take up the work the next day. So rather than starting from scratch the next day, you actually can go back to where you left off and continue immediately, because you know where it was going. And that's something that Ernest Hemingway was really fond of, so he would stop his work mid-sentence when he was writing, and that way he always knew the next day that he would be able to start and that he'd be able to continue with his work easily. So stopping in the middle of something would be something that I recommend for you as well. So guys, that is it for this video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that it was helpful. If you have any other tips, be sure to leave them in the comments below, because I'm sure everyone like myself would love to hear them. And as I mentioned, I have a ton of videos coming up in the next 5 while, all to do with working from home, productivity, and for PhD students, but can also be relevant to other students or other workers as well. And I hope everybody stays healthy and safe at this time, and I will see you guys in the next video.